Hello, good day. Here we are at the middle of January, and we are going to talk about the topic of the week here with Florencio Nocetti, who is going to introduce our topic of the week. Please, Florencio.
Great.
Florencio.
Yes. As you know, as our audience knows, we every week try to analyze from a philosophical point of view, of course, from a disillusionist, nostalgic standpoint, whatever is happening in the world, whatever catches our eyes in the news. And this week, we have been reading and we have been watching all sorts of news outlets discussing astronomical events of huge magnitude. And we think there's something of philosophical and existential psychological interest behind this outburst of seemingly bizarre news about asteroids and the speed at which the planet spins and galaxies beyond our own. So we are going to focus on those peculiar news that are going around these days.
Well, yes, we are going to talk about. There were four news pieces that came through in the last few days that were unusual. It was incredible because they were news. They were not like in somewhere, like they found the Loch Ness monster or something like that. We're talking about main news, and they were the one that was. We have our Earth is spinning too fast, a little bit faster. How it's a little bit faster? Let me tell you, it's 1 second a year. Okay. Does it change anything? Nothing. People call me and say, Mookie, that's it. I mean, what's going to happen? They were scared that from now on, their daylight time will be like 2 hours, and then they will have 2 hours tonight to sleep, and then 2 hours a day because it's spinning faster. That's how people relate it. And then there was another news that we have less galaxies in the universe than we thought. I like the word "we thought." Of course, we all of us thought about the numbers of galaxies. To understand what we're talking about, there was supposed to be 1 trillion galaxies. There is only just a few 100 billion galaxies. That means nothing. It means absolutely nothing because each galaxy has 1 trillion stars, and each star has 10 or 12 or 14 planets. So we're talking about the numbers that are totally out of our grasp. Not, I think, out of even mathematician grasp. Incredible number. But it was in the news. It was not hidden somewhere in page 34. It was in page 2, like it was in, like the main news. And then, if that was not enough, we had the news about an asteroid that could have hit. What would happen if that asteroid would have hit our Earth if next Friday? So they say if next Friday the asteroid, which is not going to hit Earth, but if it would have been hitting Earth and it would have gone over Washington, D.C., it would have totally disappeared Washington, D.C. You understand that this is really not news. I mean, it is counterfact really coming with ideas of something that did not happen that could happen. And that was also in the news. Once again, it was not in the area of science and curiosity. It was in the news. And if that was not enough, we had another news piece that has to say that the CIA file on UFOs was accidentally revealed. Now, what is the CIA doing investigating UFOs? Really beats me. I've been seeing illusions doing weird things. This is one of the weirdest, because you could say the FBI is checking if there are aliens among us. Yes, sometimes I think they may be. The guys from QAnon look a lot like aliens to me. But anyway, this is the CIA, so it's supposed to be I guess that we have spies somewhere in other galaxies. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they came with the whole UFO thing, and again it was the news. Why is this the news? Well, there is a part of it as distraction. Okay, we are in the middle of a crisis. This distracts us from the crisis. We talked about it in our November. This is a weekly topic in November, 7th of November, something of the kind, and where we talked about distractions, but that was made by politicians, by the players in the illusions. Erdogan in Turkey, Macron, everybody trying to distract us from the the terrible crisis we are into. But that goes beyond it, because the type of news that now are being used are childish. They are looking they're treating us as children. I mean, you only to a child you can tell, if that asteroid would have hit Earth, that would have been a disaster. That's a piece of news that is really for a child, not for an adult. I mean, you don't care. You imagine all the things that did not happen. It's unlimited. Yes. What if the first human being committed suicide, and we never had human beings since then? I don't know. But that, even if you do that, you would not do it in the news. It's not part of the news, and that's because we have been treated like children. But why is that happening? Why is happening? Is this crisis the reason? No. This is coming from far, far, far in time. Not very far, but 20 years ago, I think it began. People start to be offended. People are offended. It began with, you cannot deny the Holocaust, for example. And that was serious. That was a serious issue. You were afraid that people will not learn from that, and we may have again a new Holocaust, or Jews will be prosecuted. There were some arguments behind it, but from then on, everything, all the offenses, all the truth had to be hidden. So I cannot. We spoke about prejudice last week, and so if you have a prejudice, you cannot voice it. Okay, but now people are offended if you tell them they're fat, they're old, I don't know, whatever you said. People they have the right not to be offended. To our American counterparts, this may not sound very familiar unless you live in the East Coast or the West Coast. It doesn't happen there, but it is happening everywhere in Europe and everywhere in the Western world, even in South America. So suddenly, if there is a person who has a sex change operation, you are supposed, or not operation, decided to be another sex, you are supposed to treat him with a new sex, and if not, he's offended or she's offended, and or it is offended, because I don't know if now it's he or she or it or whatever pronoun, and they can go to the police, and you can be in trouble, and the society. This is not only has it is a presence in the criminal law, it has also in the society, in the way society deals with it. What is your opinion on all this, Florencio?
I see this bridge you are trying to build. I see this connection, I would say, between sort of childish news, childish devices to draw our attention, and our own tendency to behave like children, or at least to have tantrums like children would. This sort of extreme sensibility to some stimuli. But I wanted to ask you, maybe for an economical side to what I think is this same matter, are we not also being more and more childish in our behavior as consumers? Are we not also childlike when we spend most of our money? I'm also speaking about, of course, not only Western, but at least developed capitalist societies in which you have a bourgeoisie that is almost exclusively spending in, I would say, toys of different types and rights, and as if adults, as if 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds were worried about not being bored, about having playful, enjoyable stuff and things to do. Do you think this is also a part of this process?
Well, yes, absolutely, and abundance is behind this. We have an abundance-based society in which there is a lot of things, and you are supposed to use them. So here you have a child, here you have an adult. What they use is really the nostalgic bait. Yes, they remind you how you were when you were a child. So even all the gadgets remind you of things for children. There is the gadget is less and less adult, and it has more features that has to do with children. And the gadgets tell you things that you probably will never use. a camera that has a fantastic zoom that takes photographs for a telephone. I mean, that was supposed to be a way of communicating. Suddenly, you are supposed to become a great photographer, but you're not going to be a great photographer. You are a child thinking you are a great photographer. That's how it works. Yes, it is. So here it's symbiotic, the relation. Yes, they want to sell you, and you want to continue to be a child, and everything started to drift into a childish society in which people need black and white. They cannot get any gray. Yes, because like children, they need clear things. And since for sleepwalking purposes, it is good. You're in a good position when things are black or white, because that's it. You solved it. What happens is that, of course, you stop the exercise of using your common sense. Now it's everything black and white. Now politicians, the players in the illusions, those guys who are there all the time, they cater to your needs. For them, it's excellent, because if they can treat, they will treat you like a child because it's good for them. You are not going to question them, and they will cater for you, and they will treat you like a child. The problem with that, and there is the example of Japan, which I will speak at later in this video. I don't want now to talk about Japan, but the way we are being more and more treated like children. Now, when this when the present crisis appeared in the beginning of 2020, last year, it's already last year, when that crisis happened, that tendency accelerated a lot, and the price we're paying now for being children is not just not getting things done like adults or having a non-adult life. No. Now it's costing lives. That. So yes, go ahead.
No, I think as you were speaking, I realized we dealt with a very good example of this a few weeks ago when addressing, this is exclusively in the Western world, of course, when addressing the problem around Christmas and around the celebrations and the gifts and the gatherings and the carol singing and all that. It was really on the front page, I would say at the highest level of policy. And we were discussing very, very childish things, weren't we?
Yes, but this has a beginning. This is that was not the end, but that was the latest. I would say example of how we are being children, how we're being childish, and how we are being treated that way. It began really with the beginning of when at the beginning of the pandemic we had a problem with the masks, the face masks. It was obvious that there will be not enough face masks for the people who have to deal with sick people. So they decided to do what you do with a child. You tell him a lie. You just tell him a perfect lie, even if the lie would not withstand scrutiny. It doesn't matter, because a child is there, will believe your lie. If that lie makes him calm, takes him away from suffering. Remember, the only thing we do in life is try not to suffer. So we are already treated like children, and suddenly they tell you, no, the face mask is useless, it's not good, you can get you into trouble, don't use face mask. Instead of saying, listen, we have a problem, we don't have enough face masks, we ask everybody, please do not use the special face mask, just make your own, we'll teach you how to do it, and when we have enough, we'll give you also. That would have been the normal way to do it. No, they lied. Everybody lied. That was incredible. I mean, you could even think that in a conspiracy, because every country in the world told the same story, and it was eminently wrong. I have to say that, of course, I did not believe toward their position, and I had a face mask from the past, and of course I used them. I used a face mask from the beginning, and not only me. There were a lot of people going out with face masks. The truth is that not everybody believed, but that was the way they did it. And then when the problem arises that now you need them to use face masks, then you have a problem. Because they say, hey, now first you tell me this, now you tell me that. And it's like children. A child discovers he has been lied to. My parents lied to me. Yes, that's the way. It's almost a parenting thing. It's a parenting thing, the relationship, parent-children. And they say, well, we had to lie to you because there was a problem, blah 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 blah. And first they say we didn't lie to you, we discovered it. They try to embellish it. But children are very bright, as they say, and they discovered that the government was lying to them. But that brought a lot of people doing crazy stuff, like burning face masks, saying there is no virus, it was not true. Look, they changed their mind. It's because they want to dominate now. And you have a problem. You have a child. You have a tantrum. These children are having a tantrum. So now the whole relationship from then on was childish, was not addressing as adults. And then came the Christmas time. Now, this happened just a few days ago, not long ago. And we spoke about it several times here. The crazy thing that to allow Christmas. But they allow Christmas based on a child, as a child. Listen, they need a Christmas. People need their time. They need to be with their family. They need. We have a virus. I mean, what? If he would have been an adult, you would have told him, sir, you're sick. You cannot go out. Let's say you have a fever, a regular fever, not a COVID one. You cannot go out because you will be sick. It's easy. You can talk to a person. A child, no. Today I have a party. I have a birthday party, and they have Christmas. And here comes the weird part of it. Parents stop being parents to children. Why? Because they started to identify with their children. So suddenly there is not the distance necessary to say, you do what I tell you, and that's it. There was no distance. The way parents behave with children is they play with them. When I was a child, you play, your parents did something else. Now it's mixed. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not here I'm just saying this is costing lives now. And so they say, listen, I cannot allow my child, they say, in Christmas not to get, or in Epiphany, not to get his presents, depending on the country you are. But in Christmas, he's not going to get his presents. He has to be with his grandparents, he has to be with the family. The child is suffering. And that's because they themselves identify with the child. You're not supposed to identify with the child. You're supposed to be his parent. You're supposed to give him what he doesn't have or she doesn't have. Yes, this is not only for boys. Yes, it's for everybody, of course. But this is what should have happened, and it didn't. And that kind of the murking of the lines, the murkiness of the lines that divide adults from children have been disappearing. So they say that the children, they need that. The same thing with schools. They have to go to school. And instead of saying children have to go to school because it's a babysitter, it's a glorified babysitter, and parents cannot go to work if children cannot go to school. That is an adult argument. No, the argument was, no, children need to be with their children, with their friends, and play with their friends. The people who were saying is because they had nostalgia from when they play with their friends and they couldn't play with their friends. The way it was argued, what they use as for arguments were that kind. Yes.
I think these blurred lines you described are evident even in clothing. We see adults dressing like children every day, like Boy Scouts, with shorts, with t-shirts, with sneakers, caps. But you promised me you would speak about Japan later in the video, and in my childish sensibility, I will cry if you don't. I need Japan before we are done. I'll make a tantrum.
Don't cry. Please don't. I'll cry with you. Yes, no. Parents cry with their children now. I don't want also to sound, like somebody from the Middle Ages. Yes, saying in favor of hitting children with caning children to get them things to do. This is not the purpose. Again, I am not against anything. People do whatever they want. Maybe that's the right way to do it. Just there is an invoice that was presented. Now, what happens with Japan? In Japan after the war, the problem with Japan is it was a militaristic society. Unlike Germany, it was everything was militaristic. The kindergarten, the schools, everything was made by. So they had to break it. So there was no culture in Japan to replace the Japanese culture was all infected with that that kind of militarism, also with the concept of gaijin, the savage, anybody who is not Japanese is a savage. That concept had to be broken. So what they did is they created a society that is very childish. Childish in the way they communicate, childish in the way the people work. They have their job is assured forever. There is a forever thing that has only for children. Yes, nobody will die. Everything will be fine, and everything was done with beautiful manga. It began with manga, and then it went to all the cartoons, all the famous Japanese cartoons, and everybody was involved in it. Not only children. It was addressed to the old people, and people are reading manga in the subway. One of the things that now and not anymore. Now they have the telephone. But 20 years ago, when I went to Japan, everybody was reading manga. I said, "What? There's no books to read. Something else?" No, people were seeing all the kind of pictures who are very, 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 very childish. Even the way they watch all the sexy things are a little bit too young. In fact, there is a big problem with that. The society has not grown up, but the numbers are terrible. 50%, close to 50% of all men or women until the age of 40 have never had sex. I'm not talking getting married anymore or having children. They don't even have sex. People are alone. They are living a total childish life. And what we are seeing, the result, the demographic result, is the implosion of how the Japanese society is imploding. It's simply going to disappear by itself by continue with this way. And there is no way out of this unless you have to change a lot of things from the Japanese. The Japanese are all the communication is the science, everything is made for children. Everything has a very specific set of instructions. No common sense left to use, because common sense is an adult thing. And I don't see there are no adults in Japan. Please don't mistake me. But this is what you see, this is what you hear, and the numbers are devastating for Japan. So are we going into that way? I don't know. We are not Japanese, and we are not coming from the same problem. But, and again, I am not saying this is a problem. Remember, everybody is an expert in running away from his own or from her own suffering. The question is now, is this way not going to result in more suffering or unknown kind of suffering, which are harder to deal with? That is a question I leave for the future and for our future weekly programs.
Yeah, I hope we get there. Thank you very much. We'll carry on.
Bye. Don't cry. Don't cry.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.